What up, everyone? This is your Many Hands Crew, Many Hands Podcast, and we are in the building, always bringing you something new on business and social consciousness. This is your girl O of the Small Biz Engine. Everyone calls me O Ross. Happy to be here with my fellas. You can reach me at www.thesmallbizengine.com. I do business strategy, business development, and business investment. So super excited. Today we have a hot topic for you, but before we get to that, we are going to let you know we're here. Who's next?
Good evening, everyone. It's Rio Winfrey here, actor, model, brand ambassador, personal trainer, here to train you on your mind, body, and soul as it all does tie in together. You can catch me at www.riowinfrey.com or bookrio.com.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry. Hello, everybody. This is Antoine Watts, co-founder and partner in Personal Injury Professionals. We assist with all of your personal injury needs, car accidents, slip and falls, workers' comp. We handle it all. You can catch us at www.pipinjury.com. Again, Personal Injury Professionals. Let us assist you getting back on track.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, B. McKinney, McKinneyBrands.com, partner and co-founder of McKinney Brands. We're doing a lot of great things. Check us out check me out, Brian at McKinneyBrands.com, or you can go to the website, www.McKinneyBrands.com. Let's connect.
All right. So, all right, crew, let's talk. And that's our thing, because we want this to be conversational. We always we drop a little information out there all the time because we want to hear from you guys. You guys help us co-host this show. You guys help us produce this show. So please come with everything that you want to hear, and we make it a part of the show. Send us questions and comments. Today, it's mid-year. We just started the month of July. We are 6 months into the year, finished. And it's always a good time for a tune-up. So we do a lot of things. We do a lot of things in the community. We do a lot of things business-wise, do a lot of things with philanthropy. But at our core, we all came together as business leaders with our talents. You know what I mean? Whether it's sales and marketing, or diversity, inclusion, business development, expansion, health, wellness. So we come together with different perspectives of business and what it takes, and what it's where big places where we've faltered and had to learn from it, where we've had to rebuild, and we want to talk to everyone about why this time of year is so special. Like, I feel like summer in general is a great time to do a mid-year review and see where your competitors are, see where you want to pivot in your business. So there are a lot of things that come to mind about mid-year that make sense. And, strategically, when I tell my clients, if my clients are, planning on scaling their business, which everybody should be looking at a growth model, no matter where you are. But when I'm thinking about scaling, people aren't looking at 7 figures. They're not talking about scaling, they're just talking about movement. So it comes a time where you have to employ some strategies in order to get you there. And you also want to reflect on what's happened this year. So we want to talk to everybody today about recalibrating your business. The first thing that I would say that I find it essential at this time is gratitude. It all starts with having a grateful sense of where you've come from and where you want to go. So I always feel like the first step in reassessing and doing a level set strategic exercise is gratitude. Where do you guys start off? Yep. I'll put somebody on the spot. All right, Twan, where do you start?
So, I'm sorry. Oh, I apologize. I lost the audio for a quick second. But as far as I think I heard you as saying, where do you start when you're doing your mid-season jump? So what we typically do, and we actually just went through this. Obviously, it being, beginning of July, holiday, we wanted to take some time to go through this. So one of the things a few of the things we do is, our budgetary goals, because what happens a lot of times is we break things down we break them down in quarters, but also you break them down in, okay, for the first 2 quarters, we're going to do these things, and they will carry over through the rest of the year. So we always look at our budgetary goals, always. And then we revisit them to make sure that we're still on track, and that they're viable. Because sometimes things are a good idea in January, and you get to May, and they may not be a good idea. So we want to make sure we do that, and kind of touch on the budgetary goals first. And next, we get with our CPA, and we go over those quarterly goals, because the things that we think will work, our CPA keeps us in line and helps us understand that monetarily that may not be the way to go. So those 2 things for us go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's a good start. When it comes to the numbers, I'm like, the money, money is not everything, but it's a lot when you don't have it.
It helps.
Hey, Les Brown always says money ain't everything, but it's right up there with oxygen.
Okay.
All right?
Absolutely. So when I take a look at the numbers, I'm thinking of how much money was made, how much money was spent, how was it spent, what's your current tax situation, and what's bringing you the most money. And sometimes you have to balance out. Sometimes you're putting in time to line items on your budget that are not producing. So how do you shift your time to invest in those stronger products and services to make sure that you are maximizing your dollar? So absolutely, budgeting, numbers, definitely your first step.
Yeah, I always say along those lines, right, is take a step back and take stock in what you've done to this point. And like Antoine said, sometimes sometimes your goals change. Sometimes your direction has to change. And so taking a step back and saying, look, okay, here's what we've done for the first 6 months of the year. And here's where we still want to go, or here's, either we're on point and let's keep pushing, or let's retool things and make adjustments now so that we can get to the end of the year and say, okay, here's where we ended up. I'm glad we made that switch in the middle of the year, because sometimes you get into a rut where you just keep running and keep doing what you're doing, even though it's not working. But you just think, you keep kind of banging your head against the wall almost, and then you're at the end of the year and you didn't make that one change that you needed to make. And so, taking a moment, taking a step back, as entrepreneurs, the game is always on. You never stop. But it's important to stop moving for a little bit and just sit back and take a good look, maybe take a little mini vacation, maybe do something that free your mind, clear your head a little bit, so you can really get some perspective.
Absolutely. My end, it's same thing. I mean, it's still a business, runs a little differently for me. I feel like, I guess for overall, in any case, you need to kind of take a step of what your initial goals were. Like you should always have a plan in the beginning. So if you hit that 6-month stint, kind of see where you are compared to when you started, and if you're making that progress. For me, it's like I want to have this many clients by this much time. Am I there yet? That also ties into, as O said earlier, time that I'm putting in, costs, and actually what I'm getting back. Is it making sense? Am I, and obviously it's follow-up as well in my business with the personal training. I need to follow up with my clients, making sure they're seeing progress. Because essentially for me, it's going to be word of mouth. But overall, it's just tracking kind of what I set forth in the beginning of this journey to kind of where I'm at, and seeing if everything is making sense. Make sure at the same rate, what Brian was also saying, not spreading myself too thin. You need to take some time. I think Twan said it best to me one time, got to find that day, especially as entrepreneurs. We're always going hard 24/7. Find that day. Because if you're not fresh for yourself, you won't be fresh. You won't be great for anybody else.
Yeah, and I feel like time, especially if you're in a negative energy space, it'll compound and it'll continue to erode until you are at a point where you take a breather and you could enter into your creativity. And I like to, because people take notes, when they write in about, what they heard or feedback from the show, they take a lot of notes and they run with it. And just to summarize, if I'm hearing you correctly, Rio, is that reverse engineering of what's happened, and then you take it from there. That's where you springboard from.
Exactly.
Absolutely, I love that.
And I'm sorry. Oh, I apologize. But what Rio said is very important as well. Certain things are very industry specific. So take what applies to you and apply it directly to what you do. Don't try to cookie cutter things from other people's industry because it may not apply to you holistically. It may not. But you take what you can and you apply it and make it work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny. First of all, never apologize because we're family. Number one. Number two, it, that's exactly what I was thinking next. So I wanted to know, with the businesses that we represent, is there any seasonality in your business that maybe summer is your time, maybe your high season is winter? Is there any seasonality that comes into play as you're reassessing your business? And okay, let me kick it off. Let me kick it off of where it is on my mind. So one of our businesses is a travel business. Summer is a high season. Kids are out from school. People tend to travel more. They have time. They don't have to worry about their kids being truants. They can go on vacation. So that comes to play with travel. It comes to play with real estate. There's some months where people are looking to close on a house, and there's some months where it's colder, they're not interested in looking at anything. So sometimes seasonality comes into place, especially when you're looking at, okay, am I at my monetary goals? But that may not be accurate based on the 6 months that you've been looking at, or to an earlier point as you look at things quarterly as well.
So going back
I'm sorry.
Oh, no apologies, Twan. No apologies.
No apologies. Go.
So going back to my specialty being in fitness, I feel like mine is more year round, but I also would say at the same rate that we see I get a lot of requests with it being the summertime. Everybody wants that summer body. But at the end of the day, people are going to the doctors and getting checkups year round. So they may come up, the doctor told me I need to do this and kind of improve my diet, and I need to start working out. So mine's more so year round, but it's heavier, I would say, summertime from my experience thus far.
Yeah, but what about Rio? Those New Year resolutions. Do you have like that 50% drop off in February?
Well, you know how it is. I'm sure you hear, like, even in the gym, it's full. It's full at the beginning, right? And then as that month keeps going, it just kind of dies down. But yeah, you'll hear that. Initially, before I got deep into it, just with people in general inquiring, it was like that. It was like, so, New Year's, I want to get right. It's going to be, 2019, blah, blah, blah. And it sounded so great. But
I'm doing it this year. I'm doing it. I promise.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that hangover the next day, but I'm like, I did my follow-ups. I'm like, hey, where you at? 2020, we'll check in back then. So
people treat you like a bill collector, brother. They're like, oh, so I meant to get back to you.
No, so it's like this. For me, it's more like, oh, commitment. Oh, I don't got it. I don't got it no more. Let's check back in next year.
No, B, I didn't know if you wanted to jump in that, because I know, again, the great partnership that you and O have with all y'all businesses, but I know that y'all go through those seasonal challenges all the time, man, and many of the different efforts y'all have.
Yeah, so right. So you're right. There are seasons, and there are challenges that we do have, and for me, it's trying to find ways to account for and still be okay, in those off seasons. Try and find different ways to make it happen, because again, the good thing about, when you're in your business for yourself, you definitely have to forecast and have to know when your good season is coming and when it's not.
No, for sure. And I know for myself and my business partners, obviously we're in the personal injury space. So what happens is when we get to those summertime months, people that are involved in auto accidents and things that need medical treatment, they tend not to make most of their appointments during the summertime months, whether it be vacation, kids are out of school, people have to reshape their lives, obviously. So, we talk with our doctors and our medical staffs throughout our client list, and we make sure that they understand that these months are coming. So make sure you plan internally for these things to happen, because they're going to happen. So don't jump on your staff because people aren't making appointments and the numbers are down. It's just people are people, and it's summertime, and that's just the nature of the business.
Yeah. Something that you're really touching on as an undertone is always having a consultative nature when it comes to your clientele.
Mm,
So whether
mm,
it's the primary conversation or something secondary or tertiary comment or effort to get the results that they need in order for success. So it really doesn't matter if you're hired for as to be a consultant or not. You have to have a consultative presence. So making sure, and when you come to your tune-up, you make sure that your clients do feel that you provide that benefit to them, that you're part of their team, you're an external partner, so to speak. So I think that's a great point coming in
absolutely.
there. Something else I thought about for the tune-up would be a systems check. Like, where are you with all of your systems? Where are you, does your CRM appropriately support your business, your client relationship management tool? Do you have a project management system as well? Where are you with your sales funnel? Where are you with your accounting software? Administratively, is everything, are you doing too much admin work and you need to outsource it? Do you need to outsource your bookkeeping? Do you have a policy manual in place? There's certain things that, if one of your contractors or employees, if they went left instead of going right, do they know how to return to center to get back to home base, and do that? So I think a systems check is an important part of the business tune-up.
So, I'm sorry. Like, I want to say this about UO and the small biz engine. These are the things that not 75% of people in business do not go through those protocols. And in conversations with you and kind of giving you information about my business and the things that we struggle with, you ask us these questions. I will say this, probably 50% of the questions that you asked us, we don't think about internally, because we are, hey, this is the focus, let's go get it and let's get it accomplished. So services and businesses like yours are very much needed, because you actually give business owners, you help them with a vision and all those little idiosyncrasies that we don't think of, like policies and standard operating procedures. That should be a number one thing in your business, but not everyone has it. And my businesses have been guilty of it as well. So I just want to plug Small Business Engine real quick, because again, those topics that you just touched on, those are things that people that are listening to this don't think about on a regular basis, and that they may be business owners either starting out or veteran business owners.
Yeah, I
So I
appreciate
just
that.
think those were value points that you brought up just in that question.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Sometimes people don't think about some of these things until it becomes a legal matter. And so you want to get in front of it where there's a course of deals. Like, oh, we have a disagreement. Well, we already know what's going to happen. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to have mediation. We're going to have arbitration. We don't even need to go all the way, because people go all the way live when they're mad. But, if you already have, hey, this is what happens when we disagree in place, it saves everybody time and money. It's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
the human factor.
I also want to touch on, I guess, well, we haven't talked about it in great depth. I was going to talk about this feedback also, which is
Mm,
also a good check, in any type of business, because you all have your customers, clients, and so forth. So you always want to know how you're doing, making sure that you are doing what you are paid to do, what people hire you for. So I think feedback is going to be very essential to your success as well. And it's also kind of a gut check also. Are you doing all the things you promised to do? But all those things going forward would do nothing but great things for your company if you're getting the proper feedback and then taking that feedback and applying it. If it's whether
right.
it's constructive or even things that are great, but just make sure you're taking that and doing something with it versus just, oh, okay, thank you for your feedback.
Yeah, it's funny. I see a lot of people, they ask, they're like, "Hey, I need I don't know, a SEO expert, a social media manager, just to clean up my Yelp." Instead of just responding to the feedback they give, like, "Hey, just clean that up, get that off." You're like, "Okay, yeah, we can find somebody, but let's talk about why it's up there." And not every comment is valid. There's not a lot of
Mhm.
validity in a lot of things online, to be honest with you. But you do have to address
Absolutely.
it. So I like that one. That's
That
a
yep
great one.
will get you.
Oh, listen, they all will. You're like, you're like, okay. And it's funny, especially in the travel business. You're looking at all these reviews, and it's like worldwide, and
Mhm.
you'll go through somebody getting a 5-star review all the way to a 2-star review, same category of room. So it's like, well, what happened? Just people define things differently. People say, oh, I got a
Right.
luxury
Mm.
experience. Luxury to me, luxury to you, two different things. Some people, luxury is like, those are your doctors that want the one of a kind experience. I want to say that I was at the bottom of the barrier reef in Australia before anybody else. I want to say that, I took a single engine flight. I piloted it myself, and they want to brag about that in the doctor's
Right.
lounge. That's their luxury
Yeah.
experience. And other people, they just want a suite on, standard ship. And to them, that's luxury.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. It's amazing.
And in our field, our interaction with the clients are, so our client base, they're all medical, right? Whether they be surgeons, whether they be chiropractors, whether MDs, owners of surgery centers. And it's funny because month to month, one of the things that we do is we actually go physically pick up a lot of the checks from our clients, because we want the direct feedback month to month. We don't want them to think we're just picking up checks and we're disappearing. And a lot of times it's funny because we have those conversations month to month, and people's opinions change so rapidly. Like, you think, oh, we just talked about this in May. And then in July, we're having the same conversations. So you really have to, like Rio, you said, you take the feedback and you really do have to apply it. Because look, we all take feedback sometimes, and I think sometimes, and when I say we, I speak of myself, people mostly. Like, I give you the vulnerabilities, right? I have to catch myself because no one knows how hard you work. So when these guys give you feedback, you have to understand it's coming from their perspective. You can't take it personal. You cannot be defensive about it. You really have to absorb it and say, you know what? Let me think about that, and let's recap next week. Let's meet again to really talk about it, so you don't have to keep talking about it month after month after month, because like you said, oh, everything is relative. Like, it's different for each person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and also to that point, what feedback works for somebody's business might not work for somebody else's or for your business, and so you have to keep it in perspective, and um, keep your eyes, run your own race. Um, the feedback is good, but if you have to take some of it and leave some of it, then you do that. But do what's most important.
Yep. I hear that. Something else. Where are we on this? Oh, what about failed attempts? Are we at a place where we evaluate what went wrong? Like, specifically, like, I said I was going to, I don't know, put out XYZ product and I didn't. I said I was going to create automation in my business so that I could work on some new initiatives. So I feel another key point is looking at some failed attempts, because we all have them. We don't like to talk about them,
Right.
but it's kind of in sync with like doing a vision board in January, glancing over in your office, taking a look at it. Is that still your vision? Is it still top of mind? Did you have to reprioritize, which is what we're talking about now?
Hmm.
So I think those failed attempts are a key part of the growth piece of the tune-up.
Absolutely. That's a great point you bring up too. So failed attempts, yes, you said we all have them. I know I definitely do. But I think ongoing, you should always evaluate that, and definitely, prior to like a 6-month tune-up, I think like maybe even a couple of weeks, or just for me, it's kind of a weekly thing for myself. My business. I wanted to what could I have done this week that I didn't do before? New things in place. Another plug for McKinney Brands here is they're still schooling me on certain things that I need to do. Shout out to McKinney Brands. But yeah, I mean, weekly, I kind of check myself like, okay, why didn't I get to that yet? Or what could I be doing for the next week that would help out going forward? So we could always be evaluating ourselves in my mind, especially as an entrepreneur. It's your business, it's your baby, so to speak.
Somebody said fail forward, fail often. And that's what it is. You can't be afraid to fail. I think I know me growing up personally, I was always afraid of failure, and I never wanted to be wrong, never wanted to make mistakes. But what I've learned in my maturity is that, sometimes failing is what you need to do to see the next win. There's other times when I'm working out with Rhea Winfrey, and we talk about pushing to failure. And failure is not a bad thing because you're extending yourself to the point that you're failing. And so, it works a little bit about in a couple different ways. Like I said, in fitness and then also in business. Fail, get it out of the way, and learn and take that feedback and find ways to improve yourself.
Absolutely. I think fear is one of the most common detractors out there. And it's just all about how you handle it. I had one manager once told me, he was like, I think I had to do a speech, and I was a little nervous, and it wasn't uncommon for me to be nervous in that situation at that time. And it's funny, fast forward now where I speak all the time, and it's like, oh, everybody feels that way. And I never considered that everybody feels that way. And then he's like, oh, you just control it. And I just went back to my desk and finished writing my talk. Like everybody feels that way. I'm like, everybody? It's like, yeah. Like,
you are not alone.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to stumble. We talked about.
Actually, I'm sorry. That part right there, though, that is a huge point, because as people, no matter what we do, but especially in business, we're like, this is only happening to us. Like, this is not happening to it. This has never happened. And I know, B, we've talked about it before, Rio, and we've all talked about it. It's like when you're going through something personally, it doesn't matter. It's nobody understands, right? Because it's never happened to them. Same thing in business. Nobody understands. Yes, people, it's happened to everyone. Whether or not you choose to admit it is on you. But us four, there's life in the vulnerability. Like, you learn from it, from being vulnerable and explaining to other people, look, I go through this. Like, I struggle with this. How do you if you deal with this, how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
And then you learn and you move forward. But if you don't talk to people about this stuff, look, everything is not great in business. It is hard. So lean on other people. Like, that's just the normal thing to do. But, people don't like to do it. But trust me, people, that is the way to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're so talking to me right now because I'm in the process of contributing to an anthology, and I could knock it out. I have a chapter to write. I could knock it out quickly just on business, and I have to challenge. I've been thinking about challenging myself to really open up a little bit more, because I think that's when the value would really get there, and it means a lot to me to get my story out there. So that was it was a timely and personal message. So I appreciate that, Twan.
Well, hey, many hands.
Yeah,
many hands.
All right.
I think we talked about really efficiencies that make your business better, efficiencies that will make your business more profitable. If you don't control leakage, if you don't control anything that is seeping through and hurting your volume, whether it's your volume of time, whether it's your financial volume, anything that will hurt your business. So I think we touched on a lot of things. I started off with your tune-up has to include gratitude for wherever you are, whatever realizations that you've come across. We talked about budgeting. Twan, I interjected with that. You got to look at your money. Where are you? Have you spent it appropriately? Have you misstepped in any way? What can you add? Some people take money out of their marketing budget to save money, and then they end up hurting their sales and hurting their business. So it's not all about savings at face value. Sometimes it's about spending. Some people are cheap; they don't want to spend on their knowledge. If you're not pouring into making sure that you are of value to your customer base, then you're not working, right? We
Right.
talked about systems and making sure that all you have your systems in place. We talked about feedback. Rio brought up, hey, listen, are you seeking feedback? Are you listening? Are you retooling once you do get that feedback? You can't listen to everybody about everything. Sometimes you have to. There's a time for stubbornness, but there's also a time for listening, and there's a
Yeah.
time for humility, and there's a time for understanding. Those are your customers, and they need to be serviced in a way that they can appreciate, not in a way that you just deliver. And failed attempts, and looking at that. So, are there any other efficiencies that will impact business and help us to recalibrate where we are?
I would say I'm not sure efficiencies if this count as one. I would say just overall, no matter where you are as a business person, just be proud of the fact that you have put yourself and you've taken that step, that leap to be an entrepreneur, and that you have a passion about something that you wanted to deliver to the masses. So there will be times where you're going to have maybe some down periods, you're second guessing yourself, especially, I guess, more so in the beginning, but even throughout in that first year. But just remember why you started it and what your ultimate goal is and what your gift is, in that sense.
Absolutely, here. Twan, what you first of all, Twan, you do an extensive amount of research and study on a daily basis. So,
Oh, I would tell you. So like I said earlier, right now we're in the middle of this, right? Like we're really in the heat of this. So I just want to kind of just give for my business, right? Personal injury, what we do, we work with attorneys and doctors, right? So this is what we do. So because we work with the medical side of things, we have to be healthcare compliant in a lot of different areas. So just real quick, one of the things in our list was budgetary goals, CPA, meeting with the CPA, making sure our quarterly goals were in place, but also making sure that we weren't biting off more than we could chew. We are not a corporate entity as far as corporations like an IBM or just things of that nature, right? But, one thing I notice about CEOs, anytime they meet with the CIO, which is the tech guy of the company, the CFO is always present because the CIO has these great dreams and visions, and the CFO is there to keep everything in line. So our CPA is there to keep all of us in line because we have these grandiose dreams and visions. The third thing was our attorney to review contracts that we have and new projects because, again, we have to be healthcare compliant. And that is something that we obviously cannot play with because that affects our clients directly as well. The other things outside of that a little bit, website audits, social media, what are we doing? Is it effective? Should we put more money into it? Should we pull back some? Like just focusing on those things. But the main thing, and Rio, OB, y'all all talked about it, our client meetings are set because we have to get with these guys in their face. They're all busy. They're MDs. They're just busy people. So we have to sit down in front of them to make sure that if we are not meeting expectations, maybe we need to reset expectations because we believe we're meeting them and they don't. Or maybe we just need to be better. I had a conversation with a doctor today that he had with his employees, and he said, look, I don't need excuses. And they said, well, they're reasons. No, they're excuses because we haven't accomplished the goal. So you can give all the reasons in the world, but look, did we accomplish what we needed to do? So those client meetings have been set because we really need to get in touch with those. And Rio, man, that touched my spirit when you said basically celebrate your accomplishments, your achievements, and your goals. Look, small wins matter, people. Small wins matter.
Yeah,
We shoot for
absolutely.
home runs, but you know what? Singles and doubles score runs too. So just I have a hard time with this personally. So I lean on these other three individuals, B, O, and Rio, because they're extremely positive people. They're realists, but if maybe if I'm delusional in a sense, they will let me know as well. So, but make sure you celebrate that. The small wins turn into larger victories. Just understand that.
Yeah, Twan, what I took from what you just said is that part of being efficient is building a great team. Know that you put people around you that either they'll be honest with you, or they have strengths for your weaknesses. They keep you in check. You know what I mean? Being able to do that is ultimately, I think, one of the biggest ways in being efficient. The reason that we all work well together is we are that way a lot of times, whether it's just need somebody to talk to, bounce an idea off of, or O and I work well together because her strengths are my weaknesses, my strengths are her weaknesses, and we also keep each other accountable. And so building the right team, regardless of what industry you're in, if you're in real estate, if you're an investor, you build a good team. If you're really in any business, whether your team is in your industry or they're outside, there are folks that are outside the industry. Building a good team, there are certainly strength and power in having a good team.
I would like to rebut on weaknesses. Those are my challenges. Moving on.
Wordplay.
But I, Josh.
Oh, it's always a word. I always said she's a wordsmith. She's got that. I know. So I will take it.
Oh, man.
You gotta admire that. You have to.
As always, appreciate you guys. I think we hit a lot of good points. And this is good information. So, we'll put out the transcript, all this information. We encourage everyone to use it. Don't just, take information and not use it. 99% of the people, you can give them the answers to the test and they'll still fail. So make sure that in the test of life, pass, keep moving, keep going forward, keep striving, keep looking for the best, keep trying to turn over another stone and see what's out there, solve problems, hug somebody, live, show a little love, show some compassion. There's so many ways that you can win. People categorize winning as, hey, numbers. Not so. We're giving you the best steps for a complete holistic formula. And that's why we're Many Hands, the only place that you're going to find business and social consciousness. We want everyone to win. Thank you for winning with us on this episode. And it will air shortly. So let's go. Grand opening.
Grand closing.
All right, guys. You can find us on manyhandspodcast.com. That is the manyhandspodcast.com. See you soon.